little bit about the background. I work with a company called Content Plan, and we deliver quite a bit of training to quite a lot of businesses. We're all experts in different areas. So my thing is SEO, Google Ads, and that's what I'm delivering for you today. So as I mentioned, I will send these to you. So I have 3 extra support documents that I'm going to send to you in the chat section there shortly. But obviously, SEO is a really important part of your business. There's no doubt about that. But what's even more important is really understanding who your customers are. That's really, really important. Your marketing plan as well. So like your route to market. So basically, you know, where am I going to sell my products? Where are my customers hanging out? How am I going to sell, you know, my products or services to these customers? And then the other component as well is content. So as we know, we live in a digital world. Everybody tends to be online now. And particularly this year, we've seen with COVID that customers have had to, as well as businesses, had to pivot online in order to buy products, and service providers are also pivoting online. So they're doing more Zooms, virtual consultations and things like that. So I just wanted to share that with you. And as I said, I will pop that into the chat shortly. Okay. So just as well, at the end of the session, I will have a quick poll that I need you guys to do, if you wouldn't mind taking a couple of minutes to do it. And also I am going to leave time as well for Q&As. So we have a jam-packed agenda for today. We're going to be covering search engine optimization, and we're going to look at web analytics as well. So there's lots of different areas, components that we're going to do. I also want to do, I'm going to do a live walkthrough with you on just a couple of things. I just find that may make a little bit more sense for you. And you will get these slides as well. They will be emailed to you. I'll make sure I hand them over to Grace so that you will have it in a PDF document so that you can refer to it at a later date. So, there is no such thing as digital strategy anymore, only strategy in a digital world. And that's a very, very true saying. We're seeing such an increase now in people moving towards online. And as I said, particularly what Grace mentioned as well, there's some great supports out there to get your business online. And not only that, but also the big guns like Facebook and Shopify, they have geared all of their tools that they have available specifically for small businesses. That's their main priority, is actually small businesses. So there's lots of available supports out there, and there's loads of different ways that you can sell online now. So just to make you aware of that. In terms of stats, this is a global breakdown. So total population 7.75 billion. Unique mobile phone users, there's 5.19 billion, so it's 67%. So it's more than half the population that are using mobile. And as we know as well, mobile is the most popular way for people to, I guess, interact with your brand. So everything really needs to be optimized for your mobile. But it's also, as I said before, the likes of the bigger kind of companies like Facebook and Instagram and all of those kind of things, they have really optimized all of their tools for mobile. So they're making it much, much easier for you to connect with your customers and for your customers to connect with you. In terms of internet users, there's 4.54 billion. So that's nearly 60% penetration, and active social media users as well. So there's 49% at the moment. As we're seeing the trends, the new apps that are coming on board, like TikTok is a big hit at the moment. Then we have the more audio, which was released kind of late last year, which is called Clubhouse. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of that yet, but this is another great tool that is coming along, and it's really, really impacting businesses in a very positive way. In terms of Ireland, and this is the breakdown for Ireland. So we have nearly 60% of people using their mobile phones. There's 38% using laptops and desktops, but as you can see here, there's been a 21% increase in mobile phone usage and an 18% decrease in laptops and desktops. In terms of tablets as well, there is a decrease in tablets and also other devices as well. But what is important to note here is something that we call attribution. So it's a buzzword that you'll hear, particularly in the marketing world. And what attribution basically means is how we interact with a brand or how we make a purchase is not just based on one device. So for example, we might get served an ad on Facebook. Then we might decide to go and have a better look at the product on a desktop. Then we might get distracted, as we do, life goes on. And then we might get served another ad, for example, which is trying to bring us back into the sale. And then we might, finish putting the kids to bed at night, hop into our bed, grab our tablet and have another little browse on our tablet. And then maybe a few days later, when we've added all of our product to our cart, or we've really made our decision on what we want to do, we'll then go ahead and we'll make a purchase. So we may either make that purchase on a desktop, or we'll make it on a mobile, or we'll make it on a tablet. But what we talk about when we're talking about attribution, and it's a really important thing for you to be aware of, that there is multi-touch points in the buying process. So as we go on later to talk about optimizing, your website for mobile, this is the reason behind it, and this is why it's such an important thing, because people are not just buying on one platform or on one laptop or desktop, for example. They're interacting on a multi-level. So the most used platforms. So according to January 2020, YouTube is the most used social media platform. In second, we have Facebook, and in third, we have WhatsApp, and then Facebook Messenger and Instagram. What I wanted to point out to you here is not YouTube, I'll talk about YouTube in a second, but if we look at the second, third, fourth, and fifth most used social media platforms, they all belong to Facebook. They are literally they all belong to Facebook. And for you, for example, when you're advertising, Facebook is actually a really good platform because it gives you the opportunity to advertise across multiple channels. So if, for example, your product, you're advertising it on Facebook, or you do an ad on Facebook, you also have the opportunity to be able to put that ad into Facebook Messenger and Instagram as well, for example. WhatsApp ads are also coming down the line. That is inevitable. They have recently announced, WhatsApp have, last year, they introduced the WhatsApp for Business. Again, they're really optimizing that for sales. So if you haven't had a look at it, definitely dive in and take a look, because you can add your products, you can add your services, and you can categorize. So it's really, really interesting. And just going back to YouTube as well, if any of you are doing demos and things like that, YouTube is absolutely fantastic for brand awareness. And positioning yourself as an expert. So if it's not something that you've considered, and as I said, we are talking about SEO and things today, as part of your strategy, definitely look into YouTube. It's really, really popular. And think about yourself when you're doing a bit of learning or something like that. Generally, do you tend to go onto YouTube and look for a how-to video? So that's how you first discover brands. And YouTube as well is owned by Google. And so YouTube, you optimize for keywords and key phrases. We'll talk about that later on. But I just wanted to give you a heads up, seeming as it's here, as another avenue for you to think about in the marketing mix. So there's a lot of stats here and stuff in terms of how people are operating in the digital world. And the average internet user now spends 6 hours and 43 minutes online each day. And this increases if you're a social media manager. But in terms of currently spending, like, we spend 40% of our waking lives using the internet. So we spend quite a proportion online at the moment. the world's internet users will spend a cumulative of 1.25 billion years online in 2020, with more than 1/3 of that time spent using social media. So it's, it's a really, really, really big part of the world. I'm not going to read through all of these. As I said, you'll get this handout, but I just want to really harness this to you, because it is a bit scary. And if you're a business that's used to traditional marketing, and as a result of COVID, you've had to close your store. So I've seen this happen so much lately. I've been working with beauticians, they can't open their store. So they've had to, to really pivot their business online. And they've had to create websites where they can sell their product. And they've also been able to set up bookings as well. So they're able to let people book now, for example, so that when they open, that they have that bit of revenue coming in. And also as well, I've also seen beauticians, for example, pivot their skill set. So they've turned their knowledge into an online course. And this is absolutely possible. And it is scary. Don't get me wrong. It's very scary, but it's definitely something that is available to you right now. And there are so many supports out there to enable you to do that. And it's really important that you meet your customers where they at, and where they are right now is online. So make sure that you are utilizing that space. So Google, we all use it. Google is a search engine that started development in 1996 by Sergey Brin and Larry Page as a research project at Stanford University to find files on the internet. And Larry and Sergey later decided that the name of their search engine needed to change, and they decided upon Google, which is inspired from the term Google. And the company headquarters is currently based out of Mountain View, California. So on the right-hand side here, we see the very, very first version of Google, what the search engine looked like. And it was basically there. The principle was essentially the same. It was to be able to find and organize content. But then obviously, it's really, really developed since then. And we definitely use it a lot as part of our everyday life. And so Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And the reason why this is here for you is not so much about their goal or their mission. It's actually for you to think about when you're creating content and when you're using keywords and when you're thinking about how a customer, what they would type in and what you want to be found for. And so if you can get this in your head and you can understand that Google basically does a search and finds millions and trillions of content in a very, 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 very fast amount of time. And what we want to do is get you on the first page of Google. So Google specializes in internet-related services and products, and they have a suite of different apps and tools for you to use, some of which we will talk about today. And it is considered one of the big 5 technology companies alongside Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and Facebook. And due to the dominance of the Google search engine, it's actually become a transitive verb. So you can read up a little bit more about that as well. Out there. So, in the UK, for example, or America, you have Bing. That's another search engine, and something as well that, if your target market is potentially in the UK, for example, you might want to also look at optimizing, your Bing account or your ads, your Google ads for Bing. So we're not talking too much about that today, but again, I'll just drop a couple of little tips here and there as this session is recorded. So in terms of Google search, how does it work? Well, the search starts with the web, and it's made up of over 60 trillion individual pages. And how it works is it's the little bots. So they're just little bots, and they navigate by crawling. And these bots understand the technical language. So they're programmed to understand technical language. And this is where we start to see the likes of keyword research. And originally, the keyword research obviously became popular when people learned how to manipulate it for buying products and things. But actually, keywords, when we look at alt tags and alt descriptions, they were originally there for people who had visual impairment. So that's how they originally, that's what they were originally used for. But as we've developed and marketers have kind of, worked out that this is a way to get found, it's now been harnessed into SEO. So how it works is basically a search engine spider crawls the web. So again, what it's doing is if somebody does a search in the search bar, which I'll show you later, and then it has, in a very, very split second, it will basically find relevant content. And it also checks other factors as well, which we're going to talk about. But one of those factors is also the landing page experience and the load time, the load speed of your website. Those kind of things are really important as well. It builds an index of the words it finds and their location as well. So that's why it's important to have a number of keywords and key phrases, and I will explain the difference up to that down the line. But that's the reason, that's basically what it does. And when the user searches, they're searching that index, and the search engine presents the most relevant results of the search from the index. So again, there are a number of factors. We know some of them. We don't know all of them. But what we do know is that freshness. So in other words, if you are updating your website on a regular basis, or you're creating a content. So when I talk about YouTube videos or I talk about blogging, that's what I'm talking about in terms of freshness, and the site and page quality as well. So in other words, does the site make sense? Is it easy for people to navigate when they go onto your site? Does it load fast? If it's taken too long to load, then it's not a good experience. Is it safe? So this is something else as well. I'm not too sure if this is covered in the course. I'll talk to you about it now as well, just in case it isn't. So safe search is really important, and I'll show you what it looks like as well. But it's referring to an SSL cert. And basically what an SSL cert is, if you look at a website, up in the top left-hand corner, you'll see a little lock icon. And basically that tells you that that site has an SSL cert, which basically means that it's encrypted, so that if somebody puts in their personal details or their payment details, that it's safe for the person to do so. And this actually became a requirement over the last couple of years. So beforehand, the sites that only really needed to use this were e-commerce sites, so people selling products. But now what they're doing is they're actually making it the norm, a standard practice. And what happens is, if you don't have an SSL cert on your website, well, the person who goes to click on your website, and maybe some of you have had this as well, you will get a little, it's like a pop-up, and it will say that the site is unsecure, and are you sure you want to go ahead? Now, that's not a very good look if you're trying to get somebody onto your website, and it's quite deterring. So just something for you to be mindful of as well. And the user context. So in other words, if a person types in that they're looking for red Nike shoes, well, user context in terms of if that's what they've typed in, that's what they expect to see. So if somebody's typed in red Nike shoes, and then they get served a landing page or a page on a website, and they click on it and it's for something completely different, well, then that's going to affect your ranking factor as well. So 6 factors Google takes into consideration in every search. So these are the ones that we absolutely know are true. So the search term, so that's what we're going to talk about today, which is our keywords and our key phrases. The location of the person searching. So this is more to do with Google My Business, local search. And again, I'm going to do a live for you on that, because I think it's going to be really helpful. and it is a ranking factor as well. And I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how you can outrank your competitors using Google My Business. The location used in the search completed. So in other words, if somebody was to type in key cutter Wexford, the end piece there where you're literally typing in the location, are they logged in, and what is their search history, and are they using a mobile device? Can I just check? Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So mobile is now. Mobile has overtaken fixed internet traffic. And we know that 80% of smartphone owners actively search the internet for products and services on their phone. And 50.3% of e-commerce website traffic comes through a mobile device. So this is Shopify. If you haven't heard of Shopify yet, Shopify is basically an all-in-one platform that you can use to sell your products on. You can sell services as well, but it's really, really optimized for e-commerce and stores. So kind of products, those kind of things. And 64% of customers subscribed to a mobile marketing list have made a purchase as a result of receiving the mobile messages. So again, say for example, we'll use a beauty salon. As a result, they might send you out a message on your mobile to say that there's 20% off products, their spring sale, there's 20% off products. And so this is saying to you that if you think about it logically, we tend to have our mobile phone on us all the time. So it's literally, it's very valuable in terms of being a business owner and being able to reach our customers, you know, whenever we need to. So if you aren't using that yet, or if you have a business that would suit something like using mobile messaging, and there are tools out there that you can use, and it's saying here that it does increase the conversion rate so that they do make a purchase. And 65 to 75% is the average bounce rate of a non-mobile friendly site. So I'm sure you've heard the word bounce rate around, but bounce rate basically means that people come onto your site, and if they haven't really enjoyed it, or there's been something wrong, that it's not loading properly, or it's not what they're looking for, that generally tends to tell you. So if you see something like 65 to 75%, if you see that, it basically means that your bounce rate is very high, which means that there's something wrong and you need to work out what it is. So in other words, is the mobile not responsive? So in other words, if you turn the phone to the side, or you turn it, you know, any which way that you can see the full website on your mobile, you can see the whole page, and you don't have to scroll left or right to try and see the whole part of the page. And so something to be really aware of. But this day and age, most websites, so if you have a website that's 10 years old, you might need to think strongly about updating it, and with that you can avail of the Trading Online voucher. But if you don't have a website now, or you're thinking on revamping it, you don't need to worry too much about these kind of things, because that comes as standard. So a web developer will make sure that that the theme that you use on your website will be mobile responsive. So it's talking more about the older businesses that have a really, really old website, and they haven't looked at it in like 10 years and it's probably not mobile friendly. And Google started to penalize non-mobile sites from April the 21st, 2015. So just to make you aware of that. So traffic share from 2011 to 2020. And as we can see, year on year, it has just increasingly got like higher and higher and higher. So from 4.7% in 2011 to 52% in 2020, like it's jumped massively. So how Google ranks your website content. And so it looks at your domain. So your domain is basically the business name. So be www.yourbusinessname.com. The site and page quality. as well. So as Louis was mentioning there, that the site he went on to, you know, was obviously very modern and stuff. And the freshness as well. So in other words, are you updating it regularly? So if you have a news and updates section, are you adding, you know, are you adding content into it regularly? Are you holding events? Are you updating your product inventory? Are you writing blogs? All of these things make a difference in terms of freshness. Is it safe? So there we go again. The SSL cert, that's a really important factor. User context, so the history, the location, the etc. So again, a little tip for that. We will talk about it later on. But what this is talking about is when you have a website and you're just either you're starting out or you've just built a website, it won't have a lot of history, okay? And so we know that is a factor. You can actually, so what we looked at earlier basically was that the bots, they crawl and they add and they index the content. Okay, so what they do is they find out what their website is about and then they index it for future reference. So if somebody types in a search, that they, you know, they go into the little filing cabinet and they say, oh yeah, this website is about that, let's show it. It's relevant and it's exactly what the person is looking for. So a couple of little tips and tricks I'm going to give you around that when you're starting off is you can not, I wouldn't say cheat it, but you can definitely overcome this issue. And the number one way that you can do this is through Google Ads. So if you're starting out and you've just got a new website and you want to ensure that you appear like on the first page of Google, you can use Google Ads to help you get onto the first page. And Google Ads are really good because number one, they'll tell you the keywords and the key phrases. So a keyword is basically, let me see, keyword is basically just one word, for example, and a key phrase is 3 or more words. All right, so that's the difference between a keyword and a key phrase. And so you can actually use Google Ads to help you get onto the first page, and also you'll be able to find out what keywords and key phrases people were typing in order to land on your website. So it's a really, really good tool, and it will really help you in terms of your SEO as well. So there's one little strategy for you. And the second strategy is basically, oh, I've forgotten what it was. So my brain's going too fast. I'll come back to that in a minute. But basically, Google is definitely the way. Oh yeah, so this is the other one. Sorry. The other one is Search Console. So Search Console is another tool by Google. And what you can do in that is you can actually index your website faster by using the Search Console tool. So we don't cover that in massive detail today, but what I will say is make a little note of that now for the Search Console and do a little bit of digging on it. So maybe, you know, do a Google search on it or do a little bit of YouTube on it and understand what that is. But there's two little tips to get your website and the content indexed faster rather than you know, you waiting 30 days or a couple of months. All right. So the on-page SEO and the off-page SEO. So your on-page SEO is basically the keywords and the key phrases that you're using within the content that people can see on your website. So that's what that's talking about. And your off-page SEO is a multitude of other different factors, which is like what we call our meta tags and our meta descriptions. And these are basically their keywords, and we write them in a certain way. As I mentioned earlier, they were originally used for people with visual impairments, but now marketers use them, and so now Google uses them as well as part of your ranking factor. And there's a few more elements to the off-page SEO, and we'll cover that later on as well. So multi-regional and multilingual as well. So that's another important factor. So if you are targeting, so say you have a website and you're targeting people in Spain, for example, well, if you only have English as the first language and you don't have an option on your website to be able to change the language, then that's another factor for you. And as I mentioned, we know several of these factors, but there are over 200 and we don't know all of them. So SERP. So SERP basically means the search engine results page, and that is the Google that I was talking about. So it's literally when you go to do a search, and that's what it's talking about. And if any of you are using Google, which I'm sure you all are, it's just terminology, but it's basically search engine results page. So if you go onto Google and you type in the search engine bar what you're looking for, that's what it's talking about there. And so how search position affects action, okay? So generally, the higher a listing appears on the search results page, the more clicks it receives. And few users go beyond the first page. So what you're aiming for is to get your business on the first page of Google. And because very rarely people click onto the second page, and they definitely don't click onto the third, fourth, or fifth. And there is a structure when it comes to the search page. So what you'll see is the first section, so we see the blue section here, that is where the ads are going to be kept. And as I mentioned to you earlier, a little trick that you can do to ensure that you are on the first page is by doing some Google ads. And also it'll give you some really valuable data as well. So that's the first section. And then in the second section, it normally includes things like, I'm just trying to see if there's some there or not. It normally includes things like directories. So directories, it would normally come up second, and then it would have kind of your normal standard websites. Just saw a question there. Google Ads expensive? It depends. It depends on what you're doing, but what I will say to you is that you have just as much chance as big brands. So that's for another day. Do a little bit of research on it. It's a different model. So you pay per click. So you only pay when people click on your ad. It's not like Facebook, for example, where you pay per impression, for example, where when somebody sees your ad, you then have to pay for it. So Google works very differently in terms of how they charge you. And there are a number of factors that go into a Google ads. But if it's a strategy for you where you've just launched a new website and you want to get onto the first page of Google, then Google Ads will definitely help you do that. So 20% of users click here and on the right as well. So these are your paid listings. And 80% of users click here, the organic listings as well. And something else for you to note, as silly as it sounds, but it very rarely do people click on the very first ad. And they normally don't click on the very first ad. They will normally click on the second or the third ad. Or they might just not click on ads at all, and they might just go straight into the organic listing as well. But you know, it's definitely good for your brand to get on the first page of Google. Here's a really bad joke, but it is true. You know, the best place to hide a dead body is page 2 of Google search results. And how your listing should look on Google. So here we see, earlier I was talking about meta titles and meta descriptions. These are all buzzwords again, right? They don't need to be scary or technical or anything like that. Basically what it means is the meta title is this blue part here, okay? So it's basically the title. So think of it as, this is the title, and you've got to make sure that your keywords or key phrases are within that title, because we look here and we look, so we'll see best package holidays online. And that's a key phrase. So that is so if you're going on to Google, that would be something that we would type in, book the best package holidays online, or best package holidays online, and this is coming up. So the next thing as well that we'll look at is the page description. And this is what we call the meta description. So again, it basically just means the description of your page, okay? And again, what we'll see here is, so I'll give you a little bit of a heads up because we don't have the full context here. But if you look at what I'm showing you, you'll see the word holiday and holidays is highlighted in black. And what that tells me is that the person who did this search definitely used the word holiday. in their search in Google, in the SERP, the search engine results page, and site links as well. So site links, they only really appear when you're doing Google Ads. So again, that's something else that we'll talk about down the line. But if you see them here, you've got some holidays, summer, late deals, all inclusive, and these are added things that you can, these are different things that you can add to your Google Ads to make them even more useful for people to click on. But again, as I said, we're not really covering Google Ads today, but definitely look into it as a complementary addition to your business. And so if we look at the one below, book flights and hotel for more savings, it's not really, how can I show this to you? So if you look at the meta tag description, so the top one here, so the page description, there is a character limit, and it's between 150 and 160 characters. And as you see, we can read that whole sentence perfectly. We can see the full stop, and we get a full understanding of what this is that they're doing. But if we look at the one at the bottom, you'll see that the SEO hasn't really been done on this. And so the message is cut off. And so we don't really get a full understanding of the message. And that's why it's important to do your SEO and to make sure that you're doing your meta tags and your meta descriptions. And I'm going to show you a tool that you can use later on as well, how you can do this as well. So if anyone's feeling a little bit overwhelmed at the moment, and if you have any questions, make a little note of it, and I'll answer it in our Q&A session, okay? But that's basically what that is talking about. So SEO. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and it is the process of getting traffic from free, organic, editorial, or natural search results on the search engines. And all major search engines, such as Google, have primary search results where web pages and other content, such as videos or local listings, are shown and ranked. So what this is basically talking to as well is, if you've done a search on Google before, you'll see there's different options. You can search for photos, and there's videos as well. You'll also get shown some products. So you'll see there's the shop as well, and just to make you aware of that. So that's why it's really important as well to make sure that you are SEOing your images when you put them up on your website, to make sure you're using the SEO, so that you're using your keywords and your key phrases, and you're not just putting up gobbledygook image 1 and gobbledygook image 2. You want to make sure that it's relevant to your business, that it has your keywords in it, whatever you're ranking for, and it's really important that you do that. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the SERP, search engine results page, and it's basically just Google. And here we can see, like, there's a bazillion results there if we see, so in 0.51 seconds. So that's why SEO is really important, because Google has to index so many things. And when we go back to earlier, we saw that the number one mission for Google is to find and organize relevant content for its customers. And so you need to get into that mindset as well when you're doing your SEO. So business training Dublin, and we'll see here up the top, you'll see the words that we've typed in up at the top are being highlighted in bold. So you'll see business training, Dublin, and so on and so forth. So that's SEO in action, shall we say. And the term SEO is often used interchangeably with search engine marketing. Again, these are all just buzzwords and acronyms that are used within the marketing world. But search engine marketing is a different type of service involving an advertising budget, which is normally spent on pay-per-click. So earlier when I talked to you about Google Ads, and I say that you only get charged when somebody clicks on your ad, that is what we're talking about. That is a pay-per-click model. So it's PPC, pay-per-click, search engine marketing. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you too much, but that's what I'm referring to as well. So or search engine marketing, we can see an example of up the top, and then we have organic. So this is something I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to click out of the demonstration for you, and I'm going to do a little bit of live just to show you it in action, okay? But before I do that, I want to explain to you, as we saw earlier, we know that location is really important, and also reviews are really important as well. And this piece that you're seeing down the bottom here, this organic piece, that is known as the NAP pack. So N for name, A for address, and P for phone number. So it's the NAP pack. And basically what that means is, if you look at this, if this comes up on a mobile, this gives you really a much better chance of a potential customer picking up the phone and calling you, or going onto your website, or going onto directions. That is one area that is really important. The other area that you need to consider as well is Google My Business. Now, we do cover this in this presentation, but I just want to I'm going to stop the share for a minute, and I'm going to show you something else. Okay, so just bear with me 1 second. I am keeping an eye on the chat as well, so I see a couple of messages there, and I will absolutely answer them when we're done. Okay, so I haven't forgotten about you. Just bear with me 1 second, and I will show you something. Okay, can I just check everybody can see that page? You just nod to me or say yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes.
So brilliant. Thanks very much. So what I wanted to show you here was a real live version of keywords in action. Okay, and I just want to point this out to you. This is not a plug in any way, shape, or form. I'm just showing you what I have done because I know that it's done right, and so I want to be able to point things out to you and basically give you a couple of tips on little hacks that I've done. Okay, so for me, for example, I'm based in Gorey, in Wexford, and so this is a key phrase that I want to be found for: digital marketing consultant, Gorey. And so, for example, you need to think about this with your business. So if you are a Pilates instructor, where you're from, or you're a tree cutter, this is what we're talking about. That's why it's so important when I mentioned earlier about really understanding who your customer is and how they get found. So understanding what platforms they're using, how they would do a search. You want to get into the mind of your customer. And one other thing I want to point out to you as well, it's really important. So say, for example, if you're an architect, try your best not to use industry specific words, because it's gobbledygook to your customers. They don't understand it. So if I was to write something really technical in here, my customer either doesn't know what the word is or hasn't even heard of it, or it's not something that they're going to type in. They're just going to type in something very simple, and that's why it's important for you to get into the mindset of your customer and think about the type of keywords that they might be typing in, and go with that. Okay, so as we see here, I've typed in Google or digital marketing consultant, and here we can see what I called earlier the NAP pack, so the name, address, and phone number. And this is really important, particularly for local search as well. So as you can see, I'm ranking first, which is great. And also what you'll see as well is I have quite a lot more reviews than any of the others that have come up. And in terms of, normally I would ask questions, but because we don't have enough time, I'm just going to point this out to you. So normally if we're doing a search, just by default, it's just how we are as humans, we would generally tend to go with a business that either has reviews. And so if we look at this one, for example, Southeast Digital, they don't have any reviews, and they don't really have a lot of information. I don't know if they're open, closed. I don't know if they're good, bad, indifferent. And so where I'm going to focus my interest is, and remember, I'm just doing this in a hurry. I want to find something. I'm in a hurry. I just want the content to be easily found and give me what I'm looking for. So with this, and this is a trick for you guys as well, and really start getting your reviews, building the reviews up on Google. So I will show you Google My Business as well, but this will actually help you rank higher. So you'll outrank your competitors. This will help you increase your conversions as well. So it'll be the difference between somebody clicking on your link and going to your website and picking up the phone versus not. Okay, so generally what I would do is as well, if I'm just your average Joe and I'm searching, I'll normally look at the reviews and I'll see, you know, well, they have a lot of positive reviews, they have more reviews, and then I'll explore a bit more in detail. But it's just really important for you to be aware of. The other thing that you want to be looking at is, and again, remember I said there is actually a formula on this page. So the formula is you've got your ads at the top, then you'll have your nap pack. Then you should have your directories. So this is a directory I'm talking about here, Golden Pages, for example. But obviously, I know how to work the system, so that's why I'm ranking so highly. And if you look, you'll see the keywords that I typed here up the top. I have what I call front-loaded them. So there's a big difference between keyword stuffing and front loading, and we do talk about keyword stuffing, but I'll just talk about it now while we're here, and then we will reiterate that down the line as well. Keyword stuffing is basically where you're writing a sentence and you're using all the keywords and it doesn't make sense, so you're just adding in the keywords for the sake of adding in the keywords. And Google will actually, they do have methods of identifying that that's happening, and you will get penalized for it. Front loading keywords is different. And it's a really good technique to use. So as you can see here, my sentence makes sense, and you'll see, you know, if you read through it, but you'll see that I have added the exact key phrase that I want people to type as the very first part of my sentence. So just to point that out to you. Okay, so that's that first thing I want to show you. And the other thing is, can I just check, can everybody see the next page I'm showing with the Google My Business on the right hand side? Yeah, perfect. So the next thing I want to show is a business name. So you want your business name, if somebody types in Google search your business name, or if they type in if it's a coffee shop, or if it's, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, the Google My Business is a really, really important, and it's free. So it's completely free for you to use. So it's really important that you use it and you optimize it. It's part of your SEO strategy, and it's a hidden gem essentially, because there's so many things that you can do with this. I'm not going to be able to show you all the features on a desktop because this is optimized for mobile. So with the Google My Business account, if you actually look over here, you'll see, like, let's just break this down a little bit. So obviously I'm targeting, I had to change my strategy because my business, obviously when COVID happened, a lot of businesses weren't doing advertisements anymore because they were closed. So I had to rethink my whole strategy. And so normally I have an address here, but obviously because I'm working from home, I'm not bringing people to my house. So for example, in this instance, I targeted all of Ireland. But for you guys, if you have a business and you know it's on the high street or something like that, add your address. It's really important to do that. I just wanted to explain that to you as a result, in case there's any questions. But what you'll also see as well is it's easy for me to be able to click on that website. I can save this information. I see the reviews. I can see what they're doing. You know, if there's walk-in appointments available or online appointments available, my hours as well. So I can see when it's open, when it's closed. You can book appointments through here. You can now sell products and services through your Google My Business account. And it'll give you phone numbers and lots of different things as well. You can answer questions. There's just so many different things that you can do within Google My Business. And what you can do as well is in the Google My Business interface, let me see if I can bring that up for you guys. So just bear with me. Google My Business. I'm going to try and take you into my Google My Business live, just so you might be able to see the other features that are available. So just bear with me 1 second. it is under this one. Nope. Let me see. Try this one. I don't want to take up too much of your time, okay? So I'll just be very slow with this, or very fast with this. Sorry. So, this is what the inside of Google My Business looks like. Can everybody see that? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So when you go to Google My Business, you can just type it into Google, and you can set this up for your business. It's completely free for people to do. And there's lots of different things in here. So you can actually add posts as well. You can add the information of your business. It'll give you insights as well, reviews. There's so many things. So you can add your products, your services. You can create a mini website as well. So if you don't have a website, I wouldn't recommend you doing this because there's so many resources out there now, and there's so many grants available. But just know that it is there. If you're absolutely stuck, the availability is there. But what I would suggest is get it done properly and get it done by a professional. So you can do your ads, you can do loads of other things as well. I don't want to mess around by trying to log into this, but just to show you that these are all the things available. And one other thing as well, I can't see it here. I can't see it here because this is not the actual Google My Business profile. But in this section, it's normally here. There is a little area which says that get more reviews. And what you do is you copy that link that they give you. And then what you can do is whenever you've done work for clients, when you're doing your follow-up, pop them an email and just say, hey, I'd love for you, if you wouldn't mind, to just pop a little review for me on Google. Thank you very much. And make it really, really simple for them to do. Add this link so that literally all that person needs to do is click on that link. They'll be brought directly to your Google My Business, and you'll be able to add your reviews. They'll be able to add the review from there. And that is a really good strategy of being able to increase your testimonials. And that works in a couple of different ways. So number one, you're getting reviews from your customers on a regular basis, and Google will reward you for that. Number two, you can actually increase your SEO. So I'm going to show you this is a little hack that I want you to see, okay? Can everybody just make sure, can everybody see my front Google My Business here? Yeah, okay, so I'm going to click on the reviews for a second, and I want to show you a little trick. So this is a little hack that I use. Number one, you can see Google has already started picking up some regular keywords that people talk about for my business, which is really, really good. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is you can use keywords within your reviews. So how you do that is, if, for example, a customer writes a review for you, but forgets to mention a keyword that you did for them. So say it was, I'll just use mine, for example, okay? So say it was that I did social media training. What I can do is I can respond back to them, right? So I always respond to my reviews. That's another really, really important thing. And there's a couple of reasons for that as well. Number one, it shows you value your customers and what they say. And number two, if for whatever reason somebody writes a bad review, remember there's other eyeballs on that bad review. So there's other customers making their decisions. And so what you need to do is you need to respond back to that review, and in a nice manner, you need to try and take that offline. Okay, so you need to basically, respond to the message and just say, essentially, this is what's happened. And if you'd like, we can discuss this further via email. Okay, pop me a message and blah, blah, blah. But just always make sure that you do that. And because what can happen is, and it does happen, sometimes you'll get competitors and they will write bad reviews for you. They'll, just for the sake of it. Or sometimes you might get somebody who thinks that you're the business that they went to when actually they went to somebody else's business and they've written a review on your page by mistake. So just an example. But basically, that's another little hack for you guys to do, particularly if you're interested in SEO and keywords. That is what I do. So you'll see here, if I look at this, I'll just give you an idea. Yeah, so like there's a couple of keywords I'm using in here: online marketing. You'll see I use social media, blah, 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 blah. Get into the habit of doing that yourself. So if a person has written you a review, be sure to respond back to them and use some of the keywords related to your business. Okay. So I'm going to go back to our slides now. So this is what I'm talking about. On-page and off-page SEO, there are a number of factors. They go hand in hand, so you have to kind of work on them together, okay? And so what I was talking about earlier is your title tags, your H1 tags. They were all the things I was talking about earlier, which I showed you the blue link in Google in a Google search, and your description. The keyword density as well. So keyword density basically means like, that you've optimized with your key, your content contains your keywords and the right amount of keywords and all of that good stuff. And then the keyword placement. So remember I showed you beforehand when I talked about front loading keywords. I simply just mean that I've made sure that any of my really important keywords or key phrases are at the front of my sentences. And I keep them on my most important sentences as well. So like if it's a title and if it's in the description or something like that. And then we have our off-page SEO, which is our social media, because believe it or not, us having a Facebook page, a Twitter page, a LinkedIn page, a YouTube channel, they are all, again, important factors. And earlier when I talked to you about perhaps using YouTube as building a brand awareness, you can use keyword strategy as well on YouTube. So when you're describing your video, you can use tags and things like that on YouTube. And this will really, really help you to come up in a search as well. And if you're doing videos already for your business, why not put them up on social media or put them up on Facebook or YouTube as well, and really leverage that channel, because as we saw, it was the most searched and most used platform. So link building as well. So link building is basically when you so a good example of using this is, say if you've done work for a company. So we'll use the LEO, for example. So say you've done work for the LEO, well, you might put their logo on your website, and you might make sure that logo is clickable and that it contains the URL of that business, for example. And so that's what link building is referring to. Articles as well, so writing blogs and having blog forums and things like that as well. So that's where we see the kind of the more written content come into play. And you'll also see as well now, like podcasts are really, really popular at the minute. They're super popular. And podcasts do help you. You can still, even though you're creating a podcast, there's nothing stopping you from writing a blog, including the podcast, and just giving a little brief overview of what the podcast is about. Because again, you're getting your opportunity to put your keywords in there. And also, there's another opportunity there for you to link to the likes of Spotify, YouTube, whatever it is. Again, like they're reputable links, they're reputable brands, and they're high traffic. So that will really help with you. All right. There's loads and loads of things on there. I'm not going to read through all this because you will be getting this PDF, but just you can have a little look in your own time of all the components that are ranking factors of the algorithm. And something else to make you aware of, there is a new algorithm update coming this year in the next couple of months. And just to give you a heads up, it's all around, so in 2000, last year, they announced a BERT update. Okay, they normally name all of their algorithm updates by animals. The latest one that they did was the BERT update, and so think of Sesame Street, BERT, G-BERT, and basically what that one was all about was contextualize, and this is all about voice. So voice search and voice keywords are really, really important because, as you well know, if any of you have kiddies or maybe you're doing it yourself, you're using the voice. So you might be using Alexa, you might be using Siri. You know, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and she's often, you know, talking into her little tablet, using voice search, you know, to find things. And so this is becoming a really, really important part of the SEO mix as well. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that, and just to make you aware of it. So you can do that again in your own, you can do more research on that in your own time. But the most recent update was the BERT update, and there is another new update coming now this year. So just to be mindful of that. So your website content is the principal influence in its overall ranking and authority. So the richness and quality of your content. So in other words, beforehand, it used to be about volume. Okay, so the more blogs you wrote, it didn't really matter about keywords per se. It was about the volume. It's more about quality. So in other words, when you're writing a blog, for example, that it's not a load of gobbledygook stuffed with keywords, that it's actually valuable pieces of content. And content can take many forms and types, but regardless of its kind, it must be of high quality. So, and this goes for social media posting as well. I can, in the best way to say this, beforehand, it was all about posting several times a day. It was all about quantity. Now it's about quality. So what you'll see is, you'll see people, they're almost doing, and it's become a trend now, it's called micro blogging. And micro blogging is basically where they will write, particularly on Instagram, you'll see this on Instagram, they're almost writing like a mini synopsis of their day, or of and that will really help you as well in terms of your SEO. And so you can definitely do things like that, but you can do this on your website as well. You know, if you're you know, if you're a coach or something like that, and you're monitoring, or you're kind of keeping tabs on a process, or you're a health coach, or you're a fitness coach, or whatever it is, there is ample opportunity there for you to write. It doesn't have to be 1,000 words long anymore. It just needs to be quality. So in other words, if people are going on and they're reading it, and they're either taking action afterwards, and where they're consuming more content, you will get rewarded for that. And your website design. So design includes features such as images, content, organization, and navigation. So again, it's really important to think about the steps that you want your customer to take, what they might be looking for, making sure that that's easy for them to find, using decent images, so high quality images. If you haven't had the opportunity to do professional photos yet, you can use stock images, but just be careful with the stock images that you use. But you can use places like Unsplash and Canva as well. So if any of you are using the tool called Canva is a great tool that you can create your images with, for social media and presentations and everything else in between. But that also has a feature built in within it that you can use free stock images as well. So Google My Business, we have discussed this. I'm going to fly through this as well. But Google My Business, there's a little link. Basically, just type into Google My Business. This is for you to do later on. So this is your takeaway. I want you to do that for me as well. If you haven't done it already, set one up. If you have set up a Google My Business, go back into it and just make sure that you fill out everything. You know, make sure that you're not missing any opportunities, because over the last year, they've added so many great things. You can support a business, you can order a takeaway, you can buy gift vouchers. There's so many great little tools right within Google My Business, and it's completely free. So you really need to avail of it, okay? So we're going to do a quick website audit. For those of you who have a website, their own business, and they have a website, go ahead and use this little tool here to do a little website audit for yourself. And this will basically tell you, so go to the URL that's down below there, website.grader.com, and it'll give you a little idea in terms of how your website is performing. So I'll give you a minute to do that. And for those of you who don't have a business website, again, pick perhaps a business that you're familiar with, type their website into it and have a little nosy and see. All right, so I'll just give you a quick minute to do that for. So I wanted to give you a couple of examples here of some Donegal businesses and some beautiful websites here. I was actually having a look earlier. So this is batch.ie. And again, if we look here, you can see it's quite fresh. Another thing to note, it has the cookie policy as well. Really, really important. Make sure that your website has a cookie policy. And that is law now due to GDPR. So just wanted to point that out there. We don't talk too much about that in this, but I'm going to point that out to you just in case. And if you look on this, like the usability is great. You know, you can filter by product, you can type the search in, and you can see their shop, you can see their sale, and if you want to talk to them. So everything's really, really simple. And again, this is an e-commerce store. They're frequently asked questions. Again, frequently asked questions is a great opportunity to improve your SEO. So, and conversions. So another little trick for you guys to think about when you're creating a website, think about, or even say, look through your emails, look through your messages on Facebook or LinkedIn if you get messages through there. See what common questions are coming up. Write them on a Word document or on a Google Doc. Answer them. Add your keywords. Make sure that you've got some keywords in there as well, and get it up on your website, because number one, we've all done it. Life is hectic, particularly at the moment. I tend to do my shopping. So me, for example, so I'll give you, I might be a target customer for you guys. So I'll give you a little breakdown of who I am. I have a full-time business. I have a young child, so I have to do the school run in the morning. And then when obviously I'm finished my work during the day, I have to do the school run, collect my daughter. And then I'm busy with the food and everything else in between. And then you've got the bedtime routine. So the only real opportunity I have to do full-on research is either maybe in the morning if I get up a little bit earlier and I want to do it with read something with my breakfast, or when I've put my daughter to bed and then I'm laying in my bed at night, and then I'll pick my tablet or I'll pick my mobile phone up and then I'll do a bit of research. And by then it could be quite late at night, which means that this shop could be closed. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, this scenario, so that you get into the mindset. So if you have questions on your website, that person is more likely to purchase something or convert in your sleep than, you know, it's all about embracing the moment. And I wouldn't say impulse buying, but you want to meet your customers where they're at. And if they have a hectic, if they have a busy schedule, and I'm one of your target customers, what I'm looking for on a website is if there's a certain question, so like returns, for example, if I'm going to buy a product, I want to know the returns policy, really important. I want to know postage. I want to know, do I have to pay a hefty load of money if I buy this product? Just little ideas. For example, I might want to know, are the sizes true to size? You know, and all these questions can be answered in the FAQ section. And then I can just read at my own leisure, and then it could be 11 o'clock at night, and then I'll think, right, yeah, I've got a nice cart full of stuff there now. I'll buy that, and that's the end of it, done. So really get into that mindset of you know, what are your customers doing throughout the day? How can you make the experience more accessible for them? And the other thing as well is, you'll see down here at the bottom, this is WhatsApp, this little green button that they have here, and it's either Messenger or WhatsApp. And this is another great little feature that you can have. So we are used to being able to, it's not the same years ago where we sent a business an email and they got back to us maybe sometime in 2 weeks. We expect brands to be accessible. And so there are lots of different features available for you to do that. But just to bear that in mind in terms of what you're doing. And one other thing to mention about this here, the filter by and the search by product name. These are great features to have. You don't have to have them on your website, okay? So don't feel under pressure to have them. But the value of them is that in the search console, which is something I mentioned to you earlier, you will be able to see what people are typing in this search bar. So that will give you a really good indication in terms of what product it is that they're trying that they're looking for, what's the most popular product, and it'll give you an idea in terms of if you're doing sales, if you're doing social media posts, that you know what products are hot at the moment. So just to give you a little heads up on that. Here's another gorgeous website. Again, you'll see this is broken down really nicely into different categories. So they have their bridal, their kids, their men's. They have the search up here again. Look at these websites in terms of how they're laid out. They have the sign-in area and location. Here you can change the country and probably the languages as well. Lots and lots of different things. But just showing you in terms of SEO, there's different ways that you can break, there's different tricks that you can do, and there's different ways that you can break them down. So that's another example. And here, our final example, I think this is our final example, is another gorgeous website from Inish Pharmacy. And remember earlier I was talking about reviews? There's Trustpilot there. So what you'll see is, you'll probably see there'll be live reviews under products, for example. So have a little note. You do have to pay for Trustpilot. But they're genuine reviews. So Trustpilot doesn't allow people to write fake reviews. They have to have purchased a product in order to have the feature to write a review. But again, look through here. These are all SEO things, and the categories are broken down really nicely. Again, we see the search bar. Again, we see they either are or aren't. No, it looks like they are. And they're changing. You can change the country and you can change the currency as well. So a great tool to help you with your keywords and I wouldn't say your keywords, your links. So earlier we talked about links. This is a great tool called SEMrush, and this is what it looks like on the inside. So you can type in the name of your business up above, and you can use this as well. This is really naughty, but you can actually use this for your competitors as well. So you can type in your competitor's website up top, and you can see where their weak points are to help you get more, to give you a bit more of a competitive advantage. And it'll tell you, in terms of your keywords for your search traffic, so your organic search. So where are people typing into Google, and what are you ranking highly for? Paid search, again, that's your Google and those kind of things. Your backlinks, remember I mentioned earlier before, so you could use either, if you're writing a blog article about someone, you could link back to their website, or if you want to feature clients, and you could use their logos and make them clickable. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. And display advertising is basically Google Ads. It's just, it's a completely other different thing as well. But you know that you have all this available to you, and you can have a little nosy. So your backlinks, I did explain in a bit of detail, but it's basically your website having a backlink from an external website. So there's a little link down the bottom there, which is moz.com. Moz is a great resource when you want to learn more about SEO, and you can have a little look. But backlinks are especially valuable for SEO because they represent a vote of confidence from one site to another. So and earning backlinks is an essential component of off-site SEO. As we saw, it was mentioned. And the process of obtaining these links is known as link earning or link building. So think about this as well. When you use your social media icons like Facebook and Instagram, they are backlinks. They are officially backlinks, and they are part of your SEO strategy. So get them up there, check them, make sure they're not broken. A good, how do I put it? In order for you to make sure that everything's working on your website, I would say best practice is to make sure you're checking your website at least on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, because things change, and you want to make sure everything's working, and test the whole cycle for your, how your customer would be doing it. So make sure that the contact form is working, make sure that your social media links are correct. All of those kind of things is really, really important. And and follow backlinks from trustworthy, popular, high authority sites are considered the most desirable backlinks to earn. So for example, if you've written a blog article for the Irish Independent, now they're not very good at giving you backlinks, but they're a trusted popular high authority site, for example. So if they were to give you a backlink, so say for example, if you wrote a blog and they mentioned your website and they linked to it from their website back to you, that's a really good signal to say that you're being associated with popular high authority sites. So make sure, number one, absolutely do not buy any backlinks. Do, like, if anybody emails you and asks you if you want, they can get you backlinks, do not do it, because that is the quickest way to ruin your reputation and to get, essentially blacklisted on Google. Do it properly, make sure your content is really valuable, and as I said, follow best practice. But that's just a little bit about backlinks. So keywords, your keywords are really important. So earlier I mentioned you've got your short tail keywords, so they're broad search terms involving 2 or 3 words. And then your long tail keywords are the specific that might extend to a small phrase. So they're normally like 3 or more. So as we saw earlier, social media consultant, Wexford, or the other one that we did with the hotels, find best hotels online, for example. So that is a little bit about those. And has your website got the right keywords? So 2 factors to consider. Number 1, I'm going to say there's 3 factors to consider on this, and I'm going to drum it into you. So number 1, know who your customers are, right? Got to make sure you know who your customers are, and don't use any gobbledygook keywords. If you're using, like, if I was to create a website which used like PPC and SEO and like all these mad abbreviations that the general public don't really understand, it's not going to, 1, it's going to affect my sales, and 2, it's not really going to be good for my SEO either. So make sure you're using layman's terms. The easiest way to say this is make sure that your 6-year-old, make sure that a 6-year-old understands what it is that you're, that the keyword is. So that's your number 1 important factor. Then you've got your keyword, so a significant word or phrase relevant to the content of your website. So again, if you do Pilates, that's a keyword. If you're a gardener, if you're a shop that specializes in wedding cakes, these are all the kind of keywords you need to be thinking about. And the search term, so the commonly used keywords that users type into a search engine to find you. So there are a couple of tools that I use. They're not all mentioned on this, but I'm going to give you a heads up now while we're on this slide. So there is the Google Suggest, which is basically, when you start typing into Google, and it'll kind of fire you a couple of key phrases. So that's one way. Another tactic that I use is Amazon. So Amazon, if you go into the search bar of Amazon and you type in your product, for example, have a little look and see what's coming up, because that will really help you in terms of the type of keywords you need to be ranking for. And also, excuse me, it's great for research as well. So you can have a little look in the reviews section, see what people are saying, the type of words that they're using. You can use those words on your website within your content, so you're speaking the language of your customer. And then the other tool that I use is Pinterest. So for those of you who don't know what Pinterest is, it could be classed as a social media tool, but it's not. It's actually a search engine. And so previously, Pinterest was used for predominantly female, and it's used to find, it's for inspirational content and those kind of things. But now, again, in the last year, we've seen a huge shift. So it's no longer predominantly female, and there is a rise in males using it as well. But also what you'll find is, see what type of blogs are being written on it when you do your search. And basically, you can get some ideas from that as well. So the search term, the commonly used keywords users type into a search engine to find you. So again, what I was talking about in Google. So here we can see the long tail keywords. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but that is what a long tail keyword looks like. And just know that the top 10,000 keywords make up less than 20% of the overall search traffic, and 70% comes from long tail keywords, highly specific 4 to 6 word phrases. So if you're using a keyword, absolutely you need to use a keyword, but you need to make sure that you're using long tail keywords as well, because that is where you will be able to outrank your competitor. And because as we saw earlier in the Google search, that's what people are typing in. You know, they're being very specific. They want a swimming pool near, you know, Donegal, for example. So just to bear that in mind. And think about the funnel. So an example would be top of funnel. So somebody's going on to Google and they're typing in TV reviews, which TV is best, and plasma. So for that, you'll need to create content. So think of it like you might be creating a YouTube video, you might be doing a podcast, or you might just be writing a blog. You might literally just be writing a blog and encouraging people onto your website. So if you're somebody who sells TVs, or you make a commission on selling TVs or products, that is one way. Then mid-funnel, we could retarget that person with ads, for example. So TV discounts, TVs on sale, and best store to buy TVs. So another way this would work would be for the user. So they now know what, they now have an idea of what TV, whether it's LCD or plasma, and then they're like, okay, well, I want to find some discounts. So again, they'll go into Google and they'll search TVs on sale or best store to buy TVs. And then the lower funnel, so this is just as they're about to buy. Okay, so they've done their research and now they know what they want to buy. And so Google ads are great for that, because they're people who are buying with high intent. Because with Google ads, normally what happens is the person knows exactly what they're looking for and they type it in and up comes your ad, and they're closer to the bottom of the funnel, which means that they're going to pick up the phone or they're going to purchase the product. And it works a little bit differently to Facebook, for example, where we interrupt people. So we show them a product that they may not even realize exists, or we show them our brand that they may not be aware of. And that's more interruptive, an interruptive marketing model. And they would normally be at the top of the funnel. So those people on Facebook, for example, would be at the top of the funnel, whereas Google ads are a little bit different, and they target mainly people that are lower in the funnel. So keyword research, here's a couple of ways that you could do your keyword research. Google AdWords, Google Trends, Bing, these are all different. Just type them into Google and you'll be able to find them. And offline methods as well. You've got your brainstorming, you've got your marketing collateral. So again, what I talked about before, review competitors, do customer surveys. So you can use tools like Google Surveys, and that's free. And there's a couple of other ones out there as well that you can use. And listen to your customers. Listen to your customers. What words are they using? What are they looking for? What features and benefits are they most interested in your product that you can then add as an SEO, you know, add it as a sentence or, you know, something like that, for example. So there's lots of different things that you can do there. So this is what Google Suggest looks like. This is what I was talking about earlier. Google Keyword Planner, and this is within Google Ads. Now, you don't have to set up Google Ads, so you don't have to pay for Google Ads in order to access the Google Keyword Planner, but you do need to set up a Google Ads account. So just to make you aware of that. And this basically will show you, so I know there was an email that came in earlier, so I want to talk a little bit about that. But so here you'll see, so say for example, the keyword was weight loss, and then there was additional keywords that you might use. So here you see how to lose weight fast. They're all other types of keywords that are similar to your main keyword. So for another way of putting this is, I might use the word digital marketing. So digital marketing would be my broad keyword. And then I might use contextual keywords as well. So I might use Facebook marketing, LinkedIn training, content marketing, for example. That's basically what it's talking about. So using a keyword and then keywords that are related to your keyword as well. So I hope that makes sense. There's the link down below. Another tool is Uber Suggest. These are all just tools, and you will be getting this PDF as well, so you can use that. And there's also a YouTube training here available. You can pop onto that. I'm going to get you guys to do this in your own time because I'm aware we have very short time left. So I'm waffling too much. But definitely do that in your own time. It's just talking about long tail keywords. And we can do that in your own time as well. And so putting the keywords, again, you want to add them in your title, your URLs, your descriptions, your images. So remember I mentioned earlier about your images and videos as well. So make sure you're adding them in your videos. If there's an opportunity to create a title and a description and add tags, make sure you're doing that as well. So again, there's another link below so you can learn a little bit more about that. And this tool here, so for any of you who has a WordPress website, there's a great little tool called Yoast, and it's free, so you can use the free version. There also is a paid version as well, and the Yoast SEO plugin will really help you. It works like a traffic light. So what it does is it tells you, remember earlier when we were talking about the meta description only being, say, 130 characters long, it'll tell you if you've gone over those characters, and it'll give you a green light if you're using your keywords correctly, and you know, amber if you could improve, and red if you need to, you know, rejig the whole thing. But it's a great little plugin, and definitely do a little bit of research on it. If you have a WordPress website, download it and use it. And linking as well. So we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to talk about another thing which we call hyperlinking or anchor text. So this is another really important thing that you can do, and it sounds really complicated and it's not. Basically what it means is if you have a services page, right, for example, and on this you say these are all the services we offer, you can contact us now to get a quote. Sometimes what you might do is the word contact us, you might have a contact us page on your website, and all that is doing is when somebody clicks on that, it's taking them from the services page to the contact us page, and Google really likes that. So and a trick that I want to give to you guys as well when you're doing this hyperlinking is do not use the word here. Don't say click here. Make sure you name what it is. So, you know, contact us is way better, and because again, remember how the search engine works, and it's looking at all the words and it's indexing them. So if it just says here, it doesn't really know what it is. Whereas if it says contact us, it says, oh, okay, so this is linking back to the contact us page on our website. So another little trick for you guys to think about. Excuse me. Don't keyword stuff. I mentioned this earlier. So aim for a ratio of between 1 to 3%. So for example, if you have 600 word article, repeat the keywords between 6 and 18 times. And the other thing I mentioned earlier was front load the keywords. So if you have a really, really important keyword, try your best to get it at the front of the sentence, making sure that the sentence makes sense. This is all about plagiarism. So if you see a website and you think that their copy is nice, definitely take inspiration from it, but don't copy it, because it's easier more than ever now to be able to find out if people are copying and pasting your content. And this works both ways. So you can check to see if somebody's doing it on your behalf, and a competitor or somebody can check whether you've done it on their behalf. So just to be aware that that is available. So the Google Console. The Google Console is another tool, and this is something I mentioned earlier. It's basically a tool that will allow you to index. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I said to you, the Search Console is what I refer to it as. So it's Google Console or Search Console. In here, you can actually click in and you can index your website. So I would recommend you do that, or at least ask your web developer. And so take a note of that now. If this is not something that you want to do yourself, make sure if you're getting your website done by a web developer, they should know what this is. Ask them, just say, can you make sure that you index my website for me, please? Because what that's doing is it's you manually going in and indexing all of your website pages so that you get ranked quicker in Google. There's loads to talk about in that. I'm not going to cover it on this, but just know it'll tell you if there's errors as well. So we know if, say, there's a page speed error or a server error or all of those kind of things. It's a really, really powerful tool, and there's loads of training on this. So Google actually has, if you're interested in more, Google has its own a suite of trainings available. So it's called the Digital Garage. So take a little note of that and have a look at Digital Garage as well. Blogging, we've mentioned the importance of blogging. So again, you can read that in your own time. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned quite a lot of the things that you can do there. We've also mentioned that. This is your funnel. Again, I'll let you look at that in your own time. I don't need to reiterate it, but just to give you an idea of when they're in the awareness, the evaluation, and the conversion stage. So the different ways that you can bring people in, with your content, and then how you can perhaps remarket to them or get them lower down in the funnel, and then obviously get them to take an action that you want to. So, and blogging leads to inbound ROI. So in other words, blogging it does help with the conversions. So it does help people get to know about you and buy from your product as well. And this is another exercise that you guys can do in your own time. And Google Analytics. So this is another really important tool for you guys to do. So I just want to check the time, guys. This is another really important tool for you guys to be aware of. And I recommend that you check in with this at least once a week and get into the habit of checking in this tool. Again, it's a free tool. And what it does is it's a web analytics service offered by Google that tracks and reports on your website traffic. So basically, it will tell you loads of different things. I'm going to show you very, very quickly a live demo. And also, there is a link here as well. So Google Analytics actually have their own demo that you can use and you can test and you can familiarize yourself with as well. So it's really, really handy. And it provides you with free tools to analyze your web and digital data for your website all in the one place. This is what the inside of Google Analytics looks like. Can I just check you can see this page that I'm scrolling up and down on?
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. So this is what Google Analytics looks like. And in here, you can see your users, the revenue that you've generated if you have an e-commerce store. It'll tell you your most popular pages. It'll give you live. So see, this is telling you that there's 18 people live on your website right now. It'll tell you the different types of traffic. So this is just the main dashboard, okay? But I just wanted to show you what it gives you. It'll tell you what people are using, are they using desktop or mobile or tablet, where they're coming from, the pages, so the most popular pages, and goals and things like that as well. So your goals are basically your conversions. So for example, you might want people to fill out a form, and that will be one of your goals. So in other words, you can then track 5 people filled out the form, completed the form in week 1, 3 people filled out the form in week 2, and so on and so forth. So there's lots of different things that you can do. And it's really, really, really easy. It'll tell you about your audience. So again, I'm just going to click into overview. It'll tell you your users, whether they're new users or they're users that are regular users. It'll tell you your bounce rate. So again, you can keep a little eye on this. So that's a healthy bounce rate. And it'll tell you the countries and all those really cool things. And the other thing it'll show you as well, which is really, really cool, is what we call acquisition. And acquisition basically means where are we getting our customers from? So where are they actually coming from? And so in here, it breaks it down. It'll tell you direct. So direct means that they knew your website and they clicked on it. Affiliates. So again, you might be doing affiliate marketing. You might be paying people or giving them a portion to advertise your brand. Paid search. Paid search is Google Ads. Okay, so you can see that. Organic search is where, you know, we're using our keywords and our SEO. And then referral. So referral might be, and referral is great as well because you can get really granular with this. So I'm just going to click on the blue. All I did was click on that blue, the word. And here we can see where the referrals are coming from. So you might actually see, for example, that there's a blogger that's blogging about your brand or your company, and you may not be aware of this person, and you might notice it in here. And there's an opportunity for you to pick up the phone and say, hey, look, we see that we're getting a lot of traffic from your recent blog. You know, would you be interested in, you know, becoming an affiliate or working with us or whatever it is, or, you know, setting up a deal. So it's just to make you aware of all the different things in there. And I'm not going to delve into that too much because we really don't have time. Can I check with everybody? Is everybody okay to stay over by about 5-10 minutes? Just so I can do the questions and answers. I do apologize. There's so much to get in 2 hours. For those of you who have to go, I do apologize. And this is recorded, so you will be able to get hold of it. But I just wanted to make sure I give you really good value today. All right. So thanks very much for your time. Again, we've looked at that, and it'll tell you a little bit about what you can do with Google Analytics. You can also create reports in there as well. And again, I've kind of talked through all these things, so I'm not going to go through them in too much detail. And this is an exercise as well that you guys can do. And this is how you set up your Google Analytics. Again, I've showed you basically what it looks like. You can read this in your own time. You don't need me to go through this today. There's a video there that you can watch in your own time and teach you how to set up your Google Analytics. And the demo. So the demo I was referring to is what I just brought you into. You can create this demo yourself, and you can do the training in your own time, and you can really understand how to use that tool. But that's a great tool and it's free, and so I highly encourage you to use it for your business. So again, a little exercise they're just asking you to do about Google Analytics. And why would you use it? It's just to get a really good understanding of what's going on with your website. You need to look at your website as, so people look at this in the wrong way. So what they often do is they'll focus on their social media channels, they'll do ads, they'll do all that kind of stuff. But what they fail to do is they don't optimize their website. And ultimately, when you're creating posts, when you're creating social media posts, and when you're doing ads, you're driving people to either your store, so if you have an actual physical store, or you're driving people to your website. And if you don't look after your website is your shop. It's your online shop, whether you sell services or products. It's the most important piece of marketing collateral that you have. It is your gateway, your doorway to whether your business survives or thrives. And if you can understand, if you focus on your website first, make sure that it's a really, slick, it's a modern design. It has, all the features that your customers are looking for. It has an FAQ, and everything's really nice and simple. And people can purchase products on it. They can set up a booking with you. If you look after that first, the rest, I'm not saying it's simple, but it becomes a lot easier for you, because then when you sell ads, you know that your website is performing well, it looks great. And if you're doing, posts or anything, and you're encouraging people to go onto your website, you know that your customers are going to have a good experience. It's a bit like if you have a store, and you need to do customer training, or with your staff and stuff, because essentially, once they first impressions count. That's basically what it's all about. And you literally have 3 seconds online to kind of encourage people to stick around, because if they don't like what they see in the first 3 seconds, they're out of here, and it's very unlikely you'll get them back, and they could be spending a lot of money. So you don't want to miss this opportunity. So if there's any advice or takeaways that I could give you today, that is the most important. Really put emphasis on your website. Keywords, know who your customers are, and optimize your website so that when you do social media posting, or when you do your Google My Business, or you're doing advertising, that you have a really good performing website. I'll shut up about that now. So Google Analytics and the funnel, again, you can go through that in your own time, but it's basically just there's 5 phases. There's the act phase, convert phase, and the engage phase. So all that in a nutshell: know, like, and trust. You want to introduce people to your brand, and how we do that is through a bit of SEO. So we get them using our keywords and things on that, and then we're building where we're posting on social media. We're doing blog posts where we're opening up ourselves, and we're being very kind of transparent and authentic. Authentic is a big buzzword you'll hear around that, but basically what it means is it's not enough for businesses anymore to hide behind a screen. We want to know who's front and facing the brand. And there's so much more opportunity now to really show people who you are and why you got into this business. And normally when people get into business, they are actually solving a problem that they once had themselves. Like, that's one of the main things that you will see. So when you're creating your profile, or your buyer profile, there will be an element of you as that person who had this problem and needed it resolving. And that's why you've come up with a product. So just bear that in mind. Your channels, I showed you that earlier. That's just talking about your traffic. I showed you that. Again, you can see, when, where, and on what device. So I've covered all of that for you. So these are just for the purposes of you having this actual PDF. Other lingo, again. Conversion, you'll hear that word, and I've probably mentioned it a bazillion times. Conversion is just basically means that either an action has been completed, a goal or an action has been completed. So conversion might mean that they clicked the buy now button and they purchased a product, or they clicked the contact now button and they filled out the form, or they picked up the phone to call you. So that's basically what that means. Your goal is your strategy, and you need to think about this as well. So what do you want people to do on your website? If you sell products, you want them to buy products. If you sell services, you want them to book an appointment with you. So that's just an example. So you might want them to fill out a lead form, so a contact form. Campaign just, it basically means it's you're going to run a campaign. So it's like an ad, for example, or it could be, it doesn't even have to be an ad, it doesn't even have to be paid, but it's basically you're going to make a lot of noise. That's generally what it means. So you are being very strategic about the posts that you're putting online, the content, and the ads that you're using, and all of the things in between. That's basically what a campaign means. And a cookie is something I mentioned earlier. It's a piece of information that is stored on a website browser. And Google Analytics uses a cookie to identify users. And as part of GDPR, you must make sure that you have the cookie policy. So you can either your web developer will do that for you. They will know to do that for you. If you don't have a web developer and you're not using a web developer, there's plugins that you can use. So just even type in plugin, or even go into Google or just type in a cookie plugin. Your reporting, so you're able to do reporting within Google, and your goals as well. So that's what I was talking about beforehand. Your goals are basically, think about your strategy. How are you trying to attract people, and what are the most important metrics that you need to measure for your business? So you can set them up within Google Analytics as well. That's what it looks like. Again, the video that I showed you earlier, the link to that, you'll be able to do all of this in your own time, and you will get this PDF. So there's step-by-step guides here. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. Just know that it's there, and you need to do this in your own time. And these are called UTM codes. This is more advanced, okay? And you don't need to worry about it too much now, but just know that it's a feature within Google Analytics that you can use. And basically what it is, it's a little piece of code that will help you to identify if you're doing ads on Facebook or if you're doing ads on LinkedIn. It'll tell you where you're getting your most amount of traffic from, for example. So it just helps you to easily identify where it's coming from. There is a page there which will give you some more information, and there is a tool that you can use as well called Bitly. So Bitly is a great tool. You can literally just go to bitly.com and you can use that. So say, for example, if you do a social media post and the URL is really, really long, well, it might look a bit messy. So you can use a tool like this. And again, it's a free tool to use that'll give you a really small piece of code. So you may have seen this already, but not been aware of what it is. It starts with bit.ly, and that's basically what it is. And the reason why these are great to use is because it'll give you even more information. So it'll tell you where your clicks are coming from. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you put this from, how many clicks it's received. So is this a popular blog post, for example? Is this a popular product? You can do loads of great things. So definitely have a look at that in your own time. And there are takeaways as well. I'm not going to go through that now with you,